For more than 2 millennia, Egypt had stood as one of the greatest civilizations on Earth. Its monuments, the pyramids, colossal temples, and intricate tombs testified to an enduring power that had outlasted countless other kingdoms. By the time the New Kingdom c. 1550 to 1070 BCE reached its zenith, Egypt had stretched its influence far beyond the Nile, controlling lands in Nubia and the Levant, extracting tribute from vassal states, and projecting an aura of divinity through its gods. But no empire stands forever. By the 12th century BCE, the pharaohs faced challenges unlike any before: foreign invasions, internal dissent, and an economy stretched to its breaking point. The once mighty Egypt entered an age of twilight, an empire of shadows, trying to live up to its past glory, while struggling to survive the storms of the future. The seeds of decline, the cracks first appeared during the reigns following the legendary Ramses II. Though Ramses had built monumental temples and won glory at the Battle of Kadesh, his successors inherited mounting problems. Costly military campaigns drained the treasury. Climatic shifts disrupted the Nile's annual floods, reducing harvests and straining the population. Foreign invasions, including the mysterious Sea Peoples, battered Egypt's borders and forced the state to rely more on mercenaries than native troops. The priesthood of Ammon at Thebes also grew increasingly powerful, often rivaling the authority of the pharaoh himself. By the end of the New Kingdom, the divine ruler of Egypt was no longer an unquestioned god-king, but a man negotiating power with generals, priests, and foreign allies. The invasion of strangers in the centuries that followed, Egypt became a magnet for foreign powers. Its wealth, strategic location, and symbolic prestige made it a prize coveted by every rising empire. Libyans infiltrated from the west, settling in the Nile Delta and eventually seizing control as pharaohs of their own dynasties. Nubians from the south rose as rulers during the 25th dynasty, creating a black pharaoh era that revived ancient traditions but could not hold against foreign threats. Assyrians stormed Egypt in the 7th century BCE, their ironclad armies leaving devastation in their wake. Cities were sacked, temples looted, and Egypt was reduced to a pawn in Mesopotamian wars. Each wave of invaders left scars. Egypt remained culturally vibrant, but politically fractured. Its rulers often styled themselves as restorers of old glory, but behind the pomp, Egypt was a weakened state, vulnerable to the ambitions of greater powers. The Persian conquest! In 525 BCE, the might of the Persian Empire fell upon Egypt. Cambyses, son of Cyrus the Great, marched his armies into the Nile Valley and crushed the Egyptians at the Battle of Pelusium. According to legend, the Persians painted images of cats and sacred animals on their shields, knowing the Egyptians would hesitate to harm creatures associated with divinity. Whether myth or fact, the Egyptians were rooted, and Egypt became a satrapy of the Achaemenid Empire. Persian rule brought heavy taxation and foreign governors who stripped Egypt of resources. Though there were occasional uprisings, the Nile was now a tributary of Persian kings. Egypt had lost not only its independence but also its status as a world power. The twilight pharaohs for nearly 2 centuries, Egypt alternated between brief periods of independence and renewed subjugation. Native pharaohs occasionally rose, claiming to restore the 2 lands, but each revival was short. The age of pyramid builders and empire makers was gone. Egypt's monuments still towered, its rituals still carried on, and its scribes still wrote in hieroglyphs, but these were the echoes of a civilization that had passed its zenith. The Nile still flowed, steady and eternal, but its people lived under the long shadow of decline. And then, from the north, came a conqueror who would end even the dream of revival, a Macedonian king named Alexander, whose arrival in 332 BCE marked the next chapter in Egypt's long descent.